Hello everyone, my name is Thiru Parmar and I'm going to continue the series which is named as IPR and Cyber Law Paper Solution 2016. In our last lecture, we have completed our discussion till question number 4, sub-question A. Now in this series or in this lecture, we are going to continue our discussion with question number 4, sub-question B, where it is given like a question that it states, discuss technology licensing. Now let me make one thing very clear. You will always find one question on agreement or licensing, and here as you can see, technology licensing agreement, it is asking to write details about technology licensing agreement. So basically often we find one question on this agreement and licensing terms. So instead of just discussing about this particular solution, I have decided to discuss all the different types of licensing agreement, what we mean by licensing agreement, and all different types. So we are not just going to discuss about technology licensing, we are also going to discuss about rest 3 licensing types as well. So let's start with the discussion, what is licensing agreement and what are its different types. Now when we talk about agreement, it means two parties are there, two parties are involved, one the owner and one to whom that owner is going to forward his rights or assign his rights. So basically the owner of that particular intellectual property is called as licensor, and to whom is going to assign this particular intellectual property, that particular person is called as licensee. Now when we talk about agreement, so basically both this party, that is licensor and licensee, they are going to agree on some points. Those points they're going to jot it down on some legal document, and that legal document is called as agreement. So I hope it is clear. Now when owner of an intellectual property forwards his intellectual property to some second party, in return that second party, or in return the licensee, gives him fee as well as, or fee, just a fee, or royalty. Royalty means his intellectual property owner's name will always be there with the product which we are going to manufacture with the help of that particular intellectual property. So name plus fame, we can say that royalty, and fee means I'm only going to offer you some money and in return you are going to hand over that particular intellectual property to me, and now I'm going to advertise that particular intellectual property as my company's product. So I hope it is very much clear now. So this first point is very important. Second is self-explanatory. Now let's come to third point. As you can see, there are different types of licensing agreements. We are going to discuss those now. And the most important part, that it is not always restricted with territories. We often can purchase one intellectual property not just from India, we can also purchase it from some other country as well. Remember this, we can also go for international level licensing agreement. It is possible. As you can see, it is called as IPR licensor who wishes to license his particular intellectual property to some other company who does not belong to India. That is also possible. So a person who invented some product in India, that person can sell the same product to Facebook or Microsoft or some other company who belongs to US, or some other company who belongs to China or some other country. So I hope this particular point is also clear. Now the last point is also self-explanatory. You can just read it out this, that legal rights are given. So basically if we are signing an agreement, so both the parties are liable to follow those particular terms or conditions which are mentioned in that particular legal document which we are calling as an agreement. You're agreeing on those particular points and hence you signed it. So now in case of violation, whatever penalty or punishment defined in that particular agreement, you have to accept it. If you violate terms or conditions which are defined in that particular agreement. Now, let's start with the discussion of different types of agreement. So, basically, there are 4 different types of agreement. First is technology licensing, second is joint venture, next is franchisee, and fourth is copyright. So in this particular board's question, they were just asking for technology licensing. So while writing answer for this type of question, we just need to write about what is licensing agreement, and then directly you can jump to this particular part. But it might possible in this time's exam, they might ask you to write about joint venture, franchisee, or copyright. So we are also going to discuss these 3 types as well. So let's start with first type, that is technology licensing. Now, as we know, in current era, we always come across different types of technology with respect to mobile, with respect to computers, with respect to any electronic devices. So we cannot restrict our intellectual property on any one platform, or we cannot restrict it on any one technology only. As and when we introduce our same intellectual property based product in some new country, we have to adjust that same product by expectation of that particular country's people. So as we know, in some developed countries like US, UK, they are well advanced with respect to technology, or in terms of technology. So the technology which we are following, or the way how we work in India, it is totally different, or in many way it is different as compared to US. So if I am introducing one particular type of new mobile or laptop or some software in India, so we have to follow the way how Indian use it. And at the same time, if we are introducing the same product in some other developed country, then we have to first make sure which type of technology they are working with, which type of technology or which type of platform they are comfortable with. So while agreeing on, or when you take rights from IP owner or licensor, at that point of time, we have to also mention something which is called as technology licensing, where both the parties are going to agree on which type of technology we are bound to use on this particular intellectual property, or while manufacturing product on that particular intellectual property. So as you can read in the first point, the licensor authorizes the licensee, means owner of intellectual property is authorizing the buyer of that particular intellectual property, or to whom we are assigning or giving our intellectual property, to use the technology. So we are providing liberty to that particular company to use or develop the same idea on new technology or on new platform, but under some agreed terms and conditions. That is first point. Second is, through this type of technology licensing agreement, it is possible to improve the quality. Obviously, it is a very basic thing. I mean, before we were working on very common client server based technology only, and that point of time, it gets very difficult for many social networking sites to handle large amount of data, and at the same time, we are also not comfortable if our internet speed is slow, and then it gets very difficult. So as you can see, as soon as we started working on cloud, now we can access the same thing at many different locations. We can upload GBs and GBs of data on that particular cloud-based platform. Before, it was not possible. Before, we were only using some Gmail facility, so we can maximum 25 MB of data we can send to some other party. But in today's time, if I want to send 1-2 GB of movie or some marriage recording, I can just upload it over Google Drive and send the link to the next person. So it gets so easy in our times. And how? By improving the quality of our existing product. And how we can improve the quality? By advancing technology which we are using on our product. And the last point, this may include entering into a new market. Obviously, if we are entering in new market, that means we are going to face new rivals, and to tackle that particular situation, we also need to provide the product of such a type which companies or which our customers are expecting. So in today's time, if as you can see, in today's era, all the smartphone company, they used to manufacture their product on based on 4G technology only. So it is very important. Now let's next type of license is joint venture. Joint venture means two or more companies, they are going to come together to implement or to invent any particular type of product or intellectual property. So it might be a person who has some idea, and second party might be who has some funds or capital to invest in that particular idea. So in joint venture, two or more enterprise pool their resources, come together with objective of implementing some common business purpose. So as you can see, in such an agreement, one party will have a licensing technical knowledge. So it might possible that I have some idea but I don't have finance. So at that point of time, to implement that idea successfully, I need huge finance. So what I'm going to do, I'll just sign agreement with any particular company who is ready to invest in my idea, and that type of agreement is called as joint venture licensing agreement. As you can see, the joint venture normally includes a licensing agreement between two parties to regulate the use of their IPRs and compensation for its use. Compensation means if we violate the rules and condition, then how we are going to compensate the losses, that all points are defined there. Now next type of license is called as franchisee. So as we know, we have many iStore in India. So basically iPhone, it is not possible for iPhone to develop or to start their iStore in each and every world's corner. So at that point of time, Apple is going to identify any person with such a skill who can actually run iStore on behalf of Apple here. So at that point of time, iPhone or Apple is going to allow some type of rules to advertise their product in their territory. So franchisee or trademark licensing agreement. In franchising agreement, the franchisor through agreement allows the franchisee to use certain technical or other expertise who has usually gained reputation in connection with the use of trade or service marks. So iStore, the person who runs iStore, he officially get the permission to use Apple's trademark on their store. That is one thing. Then they also have permission, official permission to advertise the same product in their store. At the same time, whenever they sell some product, in return they get some profit out of it. But it is very important that, as we know, iPhone is a well reputed company worldwide. Now the quality of service which they provide over their customers based on their product, the same type of services should also be followed by a franchisor. So who's going to take or who's demanding for franchisee from Apple, they also need to follow the quality of service which is provided worldwide by the Apple. So it is very important. The franchisee who will bring in financial resources to provide goods or services directly to consumer. So franchisee, a person who's going to invest here, who has a store, who has a place to start iStore, who has experience to run those type of stores, and who have manpower as well and skills. Eligibility, those type of person directly going to apply to Apple, and if Apple finds them enough eligible, enough capable, then they are going to allow those type of parties to run their or to sell their products in India on behalf of Apple. Remember, so this type of license agreement is called as franchisee. The franchisor will ensure the supply of technical and management skills to maintain quality. As I said, technical and management, it is very important to manage those things. And the last part is, with the franchising agreement, the licensee market a branded product. As I said, if you go to some iStore, they obviously going to advertise their product like they are selling iPhone or Apple based product only. So on banner only they are going to use Apple's logo, right? So basically they officially got permission to use trademark and other basic products to advertise the same. Okay, so in next lecture we are going to continue our discussion for the same from copyright licensing agreement. Thank you.